Part 2, Mythic Edition. The last coils of smoke from the ceremonial fire drifted upward like thin spirits returning to the sky. Amora watched them fade, her breath caught somewhere between awe and dread. She could still feel the echo of the ancestors' presence, an ancient weight pressing upon the world, bending the air, humming in her bones. Grandmother Suri. Amora whispered. What did the ancestors seek? Suri's eyes reflected the ember glow, old, sharp, and far too knowing. She knelt and traced patterns in the ash with a finger, lines that seemed to shimmer faintly, as if awakened. It did not seek, Suri murmured. It recognized. A tremor shivered through Amora. Recognized who? Before Suri could answer, the drumming began again, faint as the beat of a buried heart, but uneven, unsteady. The sound that guided the dead was never supposed to falter. Suri stood, slow but resolute. The shadows around her shifted, giving her room. The ancestors are uneasy. Their steps fall out of order. Why? Amora asked. Because they were not summoned. Amora felt the earth tilt under her feet. But the ancestors only rise when called. Or when something once theirs is kept from them. Suri finished, the drumbeat broke, the rhythm collapsing into a ragged series of strikes. Then silence. Too much silence. The kind that made even the stones listen, and then it came, a voice drifting through the trees like a cold mist rolling down from forgotten mountains. A voice that sounded as though it had passed through the throat of time itself. Suri. Return what was taken. Suri froze. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving her as pale as the moonlight. No, she said softly. Not tonight. Not after all these years. Amora grabbed her arm. Grandmother, what did you take? But before Suri could answer, the trees themselves seemed to inhale. A deeper darkness pulled between the trunks. The voice rose again, louder, trembling with the weight of unburied memory. Return it. Or we rise unbound. The fire sputtered violently, sparks leaping like frightened insects before dying into blackened ash. The night thickened around them, and then, one by one, small glimmers began appearing in the forest, not fireflies, not lanterns, eyes, hundreds of them, ghost lantern eyes belonging to those who had walked before, warriors whose names had faded from stone, midwives who once spoke to storms, lost children carried away by the river, hunters who vanished beyond the reach. Ancestors from every branch of blood and legend, gathering in silent ranks. Amora's breath hitched as the air filled with the scent of ancient earth and something older still, something like memory before memory. Suri lifted her chin. They gather as they did in the era of the Sundering. Her voice shook. When the boundary between flesh and spirit thinned to a blade's width. Amora swallowed. Grandmother. What did you keep from them? Suri opened her palm. There, wrapped in a strip of faded red cloth, lay a small carved stone. It pulsed faintly with pale light, as though a trapped heartbeat throbbed within it. This, Suri said, her voice breaking. The stone of first breath. The charm that binds the wandering dead. It was never meant to remain in mortal hands. But decades ago, when the veil weakened, I could not let it return. Without it, the ancestors might have come walking without end. Amora stared, horrified and awed. You stole their tether. I borrowed it to save our people, Suri said. But deaths of the spirit are counted in generations. And now they have come to reclaim what was theirs. The eyes in the forest brightened, as though they heard her confession. Amora stepped forward, trembling. A wind swept through the clearing, cold, but strangely mournful, as if carrying the sighs of centuries. What happens if we give it back? She asked. Suri looked at her, sorrow in every line of her face. The ancestors will walk fully.